Hi, my name is Dr. Felucia. I'm a licensed psychologist and owner of Skill Set Counseling, where I focus on the treatment of OCD and recovery from spiritual abuse and cultural abuse. And today I'm going to be talking about why those who are in spiritually abusive environments oftentimes feel like they're the only one who sees what's going on. Spiritual abuse can be a very isolating experience. And when people are going through this, they oftentimes ask themselves, am I the only person that sees what's going on here? Am I the only person that cares? Sometimes when this happens, people can doubt that they are actually experiencing spiritual abuse. And so in this video, I'm going to be talking about why this is the case and what you can do about it. Okay, so the first reason that you might feel alone in your experience of spiritual abuse and feel like you're the only person who sees what's going on is because sometimes many other people are in what is known as like the honeymoon phase. And I talk about this in one of my videos in which I discuss love bombing and spiritual abuse. And in situations like this, people who are new to the spiritually abusive environment are often treated very differently. And so to learn more about that, check out the video on love bombing and spiritual abuse because I go into this in much more depth. But newcomers to a spiritually abusive environment are oftentimes treated differently. They're treated very, with they're given special privileges, and this is often done to mask what is going on behind closed doors. And so people who are newcomers to the environment, people who are in this honeymoon phase, oftentimes just have a very different experience and a very different perspective. When you're in a situation where you're being, showered with gifts and affection and all these other things, and these things can happen in a spiritually abusive environment to a select group of people, they often feel like they're in the best place ever. It's like a honeymoon. That's why it's called the honeymoon phase. And they are not able to really detect or feel comfortable calling out things that are going wrong or how other people are being treated because they're receiving such special treatment. Okay, so the first reason is being in the honeymoon phase. The second reason is that why someone may feel like they're the only person who is seeing spiritual abuse going on or experiencing it is because there actually are other people who are seeing the abuse, but they are turning a blind eye to it on purpose. And so this is done deliberately. And the reason this is done deliberately by some people is because they are benefiting from the spiritually abusive practices. It could be financially, it could be from a mental, from a psychological viewpoint. There are very many reasons why people can just turn a blind eye to it and pretend that it doesn't exist. And another reason is that people that do this may be the ones who are actually perpetrating the spiritual abuse. They may have they may have a significant part to play in this. Okay, so for somebody in this situation, they're benefiting in some way, either directly or indirectly from spiritual abuse, or they are causing it in some manner. And so for them, they will not speak up about it because they have too much to lose. And they might even not acknowledge it to themselves, because if they were to acknowledge it to themselves, that they would have to admit that they're being a fraud, that they're not being honest, that the concept of who they are portraying themselves to be to others is not genuinely who they are. And so this is why you may just feel like the only one, because people around you may not want to admit it because of what they have to lose. Okay. And then the third one is fear. Spiritually abusive environments thrive on fear and control. And so sometimes it may be that the people around you do see it, but they are afraid of what they're going to lose if they speak up. They may be afraid of retaliation, or they may be afraid of just losing their world, because for people in these environments, sometimes a lot of what is tied to them personally is tied to the spiritually abusive environment. So their source of income, their source of personal contact and friendships, their source of identity is rooted deep in the spiritually abusive environment. And so as a result of that, they're just afraid to speak up. They know that it's wrong. They know that people around them, even themselves, are being treated wrong or not treated fairly, treated in an abusive manner. But if they speak up, they're afraid of what is going to happen to them. They may have seen other people who were, destroyed and just isolated after speaking up, or addressing wrongs in this manner. And because of that, they are afraid of that's going to happen to them. And so the third reason is fear. And then the fourth is that for some people, they just don't realize that what they're experiencing is spiritual abuse. Especially if that's what they've known all their lives, they might not have the abilities to see that it's wrong or that it's not fair, it's not right to treat people this way. And I have another video on this called, did this really happen? When people are in spiritually abusive environments, sometimes they even question, did they go through spiritual abuse? Okay. And so I really encourage you to look at that video as well, because that will explain how the spiritually abusive environment works. And part of that makes it very difficult for people who are experiencing abuse to even speak up about it and to leave that environment. And so and I explain in that video how all of that works. But basically, this fourth reason that people don't know could be a result of just them being in an environment like this all their lives and not knowing anything different, and also the way the spiritually abusive environment works. And the skills that you need to detect it and escape from it are weakened by this type of environment. Okay, so even though, I'm going to go over the reasons again. The first one is being in the honeymoon phase. Second reason is that people, ignore spiritual abuse because of what they have to benefit from it, even though, and they also could be the perpetrators as well, right? And then the third reason is fear. Some people just don't speak up because they have too much to lose. Everything, their whole life is tied to this environment. And so if they leave, they could be losing money, friendships, their whole source of identity. And the fourth one is just ignorance. They just don't know. That's all they know all their lives. Now, I bring up these reasons not to excuse spiritual abuse. So this is not saying that, well, it's just okay for people not to speak up and do anything, right? It doesn't excuse the spiritual abuse, and it doesn't absolve anyone from the responsibility of acknowledging that spiritual abuse is going on. We are healed, and part of the process of becoming healthy and mature is acknowledging, first of all, to yourself that something is wrong and that something is not right, it's not going the way it's supposed to go. Telling the truth to yourself is a really important part of just psychological health and recovery. And so when I talk about these reasons, it's just to help illustrate why. Their explanations are not really excuses. And so now that I've gone over the reasons why people may not detect or acknowledge spiritual abuse, either to themselves or others, it's important to have outside influences, perspectives, and relationships apart from your spiritual environment. And by doing this will help reinforce critical thinking skills, help you be able to understand things from another perspective besides just the environment that you're in currently. Okay, and so lastly, I would encourage you to journal about this. If you have this question, why am I the only one who experienced this abuse, or why am I the only one who seems to see what's going on, right? Journal about that. And what journaling will do in this situation will help you understand your concerns better, help you be able to put them into words. And there's something very powerful about journaling and seeing your concerns on paper, and then help you determine, what are some of the next steps you want to take in addressing this. Okay, so it's really important for you to journal why it's important for you to not be the only one in seeing this. You might realize, oh, well, maybe I'm not the only one, or maybe it's not that important for me to take action, or maybe it is. Regardless, just journal about it and see what comes up. So if you'd like to learn more about spiritual abuse and how to address it and recover from it, go to my website, skillsetcounseling.com, or you can click on the link in the description box. And if you find this information helpful, please give it a thumbs up and comment below. It really helps for the algorithm in getting this information out to others who could benefit from it. All right, well, I hope you have a wonderful day filled with peace and joy. Bye-bye.